What no one's going to be able to do this weekend is condense this matchup to a single statistic. Good afternoon to you. Good Thursday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is the new Double Shot Show that comes your way at 4 p.m. Eastern Time every weekday. 1:02 p.m. in Landover, Maryland is the kickoff between Steelers and Commanders. And what I'm going to guess in the interim is going to be the most cited statistic will be Mike Tomlin's 24-6 record against rookie quarterbacks. And why not? If he wins another one, he ties Bill Belichick in that category. 25 wins against rookie quarterbacks. And you can have all the fun in the world you want with that concept. You can bring up how Dick LeBeau wouldn't just beat rookie quarterbacks. When LeBeau was the defensive coordinator, he would embarrass them. He would humiliate them, confuse them, make them look like they'd never played football in their lives. I can also counter all of this with two words for anyone whose memory goes back as far as, last season, C.J. Stroud. Okay, are we done with that part now? Okay, cool. Because what's really going to define how the Steelers' defense fares against this stirring, really, Washington offense. I mean, when you're talking about the rise of the Commanders seemingly out of nowhere and having been nothing for several years now, you're talking about Jaden Daniels. You're talking about all of the points that they've put up. They've been really, really impressive. Daniels in particular, both through the air and on the ground. But it's on the ground, I believe, where this is going to get decided. It's not just Daniels who can run with the ball. Brian Robinson is their leading rusher, 461 yards. Daniels has 2 fewer yards than that. Austin Eckler, familiar name, 282 yards. Jeremy McNichols, another running back, 183 yards. They just keep coming at you in waves. They're physical. They're punishing. This is how Cam Hayward described the challenge that the Steelers face in this area. This was this afternoon over on the south side.
It's a collection of backs. It's not just one guy, and I think that allows each running back to stay, good throughout the game and not have to get tired. And then they run hard, a lot of combo blocks, a lot of pulling guards. And I just think it's not just them. Then you add in the quarterback factor. It allows for their whole offense to feel comfortable.
Now, as long as we're on the subject of potentially misleading statistics, the Steelers rank 4th in the NFL in rushing defense, averaging only 90.5 yards allowed. And you see, you're thinking the same thing I am. Really? Like they're good at this? Why is that? Well, because we can go back to Indianapolis and we can remember watching Jonathan Taylor cut them up for most of the first half until they adjusted. We can remember performances against the Steelers without even necessarily remembering the names of the people who did something similar. It seems like the Steelers have taken probably a quarter, sometimes even 2 quarters to go, oh, okay, so they're running through here. We're going to have to do something about that. Yeah, of course, some of that had to do with Alex Highsmith not being available and his not being able to seal the edge on the one side. But they've got to be better. Listen, when I talk to these players, the defensive guys, what I get back from them, I can walk up to them and say, Merry Christmas, and they'll say, we need to get better against the run. They're borderline obsessed with this. Not that they're letting the other stuff go, but they understand what it is that they need to become an elite defense, not just in the statistics. They need to get that job done on the field. And man, would this be a heck of a place to get started on that. When we come back, Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. the new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joined now by Chris Halleck over on the South Side, and I suppose the silliest thing I could possibly bring up today would be that the Steelers are facing an opponent that's not very good at stopping the run, because we also said that against the Colts. We said it against the Cowboys. And there are a couple of times we've said it, like the Jets and the Giants, and it's been accurate. But does it mean anything? Is Washington just genuinely bad at stopping the run?
Oh, yeah, it means something. I mean, just because they didn't do it against the Colts and the Cowboys doesn't mean there's like, oh, well, I guess we're going to have to find another way. No, like, this is a team that's one of the worst in the NFL against the run. They need to try to take advantage of that, because first off, that's the way this offense is built. This offense is built on running the football first, and that's where everything else comes and flows from the running game. And so now they're facing a team that's not good, whether you look at the actual yards per game or rush, EPA or success rate or whatever stat you want to look at. This is a bad rush defense. They need to be able to run the ball. And I don't think it really matters what happened in the other games.
Yeah, I think that if anything, if you look at the way the Commanders have navigated this, they've had a decent pass defense performance overall. They're fifth best in the NFL in allowing 183.3 yards per game. From the rushing standpoint, they're the fourth worst when it comes to that. They're averaging 143 yards against on the ground. That's a lot of yards against on the ground, especially if you factor in that they're 7-2. And they've gotten a lot of points out of their offense. So the other teams haven't even, you know what I'm saying here?
But here's the thing.
Yeah,
Here's the thing about this.
They shouldn't be running against them at all.
Right. But also, here's the thing about that 7-2 record. They beat a Giants team that literally didn't have a kicker. And if they had a kicker, Washington might not win that game. And oh, by the way, one of the other wins literally came on a Hail Mary at the end, where one guy from Chicago was standing off and messing with the fans instead of actually trying to play defense.
This is true, actually. I'm not going to take those away from them. Every team has a couple, not Hail Marys necessarily, where the guy goes off and starts shouting at the peanut vendor, but where you're talking about close games, unusual victories. When you're 7-2, there's always going to be something like that in there. I think you can even say that about the Chiefs at 8-0. The Commanders have put up a lot of points. This is my point here.
Oh yeah.
And so as a result, they've played with leads and decent leads where the other teams shouldn't even be trying to run. And yet they have still given up 143 yards per game. That is a lot of yards per game. And if I think about when the Steelers were not at their best in terms of running the ball against the Colts and against the Cowboys. Go back to the Colts. Najee couldn't even move. Why? Because Indianapolis they had linebackers just flooding the line of scrimmage. Might as well have been 9 guys up there, right? Mm-hmm. And then with Dallas wasn't really much different. This offense right now, everything about it feels different in that regard, partly because Jaylen Warren's around, but also partly because Russell Wilson's doing a lot to spread these guys out, isn't he?
Yes, and I think that's a big thing. I'm not. 2 games isn't a big enough sample size to me to just go ahead and automatically just go out and say this is the way the offense should have been all along. But I do think about, okay, when Justin Fields is at quarterback, yes, he can make some really impressive throws. I'm not taking that away from him. But teams will always try to prepare to stop him from just absolutely shredding them with his legs. And so that brings defenses closer to the line of scrimmage, and it has them playing certain coverages and schemes that play better toward containing yards on the ground. They can't do that with Russ because Russ can hit them over the top at any moment, and we've seen that. And, lo and behold, by the way, Najee's been running like he's Derrick Henry from 2019 for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's part of it. And of course, if we go back to that game in Indianapolis, we'll also remember that when Cordero Patterson ran that way, he ran right through those guys. But different, we've been over that game a few times. I just see this team as being able to do different things with different players now better than it did in those games. Arthur Smith mentioned today that he's now tailoring some of his plays to specific players. I see that, Chris. I see that. I see that with Darnell Washington being put out in space, which is awesome because there's some little dude there. You know he's about to either trample or, hey, hurdle. Can the Steelers also make effective use of Pat Freiermuth in particular over the middle? The Commanders do have a good pass defense, but they're not supposed to be as good when it comes to the defending the middle of the field.
And I think, honestly, that's why having a receiver like Mike Williams can actually help, because now you have another actual outside receiver who has made a living for himself by catching 50-50 balls, by being able to go down the field and stretch defenses. And now the Steelers have two of those guys. And so you can't just afford to have one safety back all the time, because Russ has shown that he can still throw the deep ball. George Pickens has proven he can make just about any catch possible. And then now you have Mike Williams, who's a good contested catch guy too. So you have to be able to take that away, because you don't want to give up stuff over the top. That opens up things underneath. That opens up things over the middle of the field. So that can open up for Pat Freiermuth or for Calvin Austin going over the middle on a slant or a drag or anything like that. It opens up possibilities. And yeah, they do need to get the ball to Pat Freiermuth more. They need to find ways to do it. He's just too good of a talent to throw the ball 2-3 times a game.
Oh, yeah. Bottom line, run the bleeping ball. When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Time now for today's J1Q, and for that, we head down to Virginia.
What up, DK? This is Big Phil from Richmond, Virginia. My question for you today is, what do you think the game plan should be for Sunday? In my opinion, Lamar Jackson rules should be in full effect. Don't rush to get the sack. If you get one because of good coverage, that's great. And stop the run. Keep good gap integrity. Do not let JD use his feet.
There's nothing better than when someone answers their own question for me. I mean, you did it, Phil. That's actually it. In fact, invoking Lamar here is perfect. There is a reason that Lamar is 2-4 in his career with a 63.0 passer rating against the Steelers. They have an inherent advantage against any running or even mobile, just randomly mobile quarterback, the Steelers do, because they face Lamar twice a year. And they have found a way to beat the Ravens, obviously. And yeah, I know most of these, almost all of them are 3-point games and whatever, but they've not allowed him ever to just go nuts on them the way you see him going nuts on pretty much everybody else. Lamar, MVP, facing anybody else, just a dude facing the Steelers. The reason for that, as you pointed out there, quite well, by the way, is that the Steelers will fill the gaps. The Steelers will prioritize stopping the run. If that quarterback, whether it's Lamar or in this case Jaden Daniels, is going to beat them through the air, it's going to be honestly. It's not going to be by having them compensate in any way, shape, or form for what they're wanting to do up front. So yes, contain him and contain the run at the same time. Now, that sounds really simple, right? If you think about it, just picture this in your head. Picture the edge rushers. Here's TJ Watt over here. Here's Alex Highsmith over here. And they're coming in like this. All right, well, hand off and boom, there they go, right? They're going to go right past. No, there's a different way of containing a quarterback like Lamar. And both of these guys have extensive experience, meaning TJ and Alex, in doing this. They're going to be vital in this regard because they don't over pursue. Now, what that means is that they're probably not going to come away with, a bunch of sacks or chase anybody out of the pocket. But that's not the point. The point is to just keep collapsing on that pocket. That way, whether it's the quarterback or the running back trying to do the damage, everyone's still in the same responsible position. Good stuff, Big Phil. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody checking out the new Double Shot Show. We're going to be back with one more of these tomorrow before I drive down there in Phil's direction.